I cannot express to you all how bloody excited I am. The Elden Ring DLC has finally, after a year, had some announcement, not just some kind of announcement, a full, bloody, full-on trailer, and it is beautiful. Now, there's a lot of hidden details in this trailer that, upon first viewing, you would have definitely missed. But don't worry, we're going to go all over that in today's video. I won't hold you any longer, let's get into it. From the get-go, we get something truly amazing. Shabri, our buddy, makes an appearance. Now, for multiple reasons, this is amazing. First of all, he talks about Miquella. All the theories were right. This is about Miquella's dream, as we will talk about in a minute. He calls Miquella pure and radiant. He says that Miquella uses this to scathe clean man's heart, and that there is nothing more terrifying. But personally, what I find even more terrifying is the fact that this is Shabri and not Yura, who was the original host of Shabri's body, then that means Shabri, whom is hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years old, and is this mascot for the Three Fingers, sounds terrified. The voice actor's done absolutely incredible. You can hear the fear in his voice. This also goes back into the theory that I made about a year ago where I said I think Miquella is going to be a really evil guy, and it seems like that's actually coming to fruition with this. Even Shabri is calling him evil. Now, where we actually see this is a pan view of the Mohgwyn dynasty, more importantly, Miquella's cocoon. A question that's probably going through everyone's heads right now is how are we going to access the DLC? In basically every single From Software game, there's some special thing you need to do to access the DLC. Well, this DLC is going to be no exception. For at the end of the trailer, I was going to try and do this chronologically, but it's better to explain this now. At the end of the trailer, a mysterious voice tells us to touch the rigid hand. I'll play the audio right now.
Come now, touch the withered arm, and travel to the realm of shadow.
And with this, we can assume, considering Miquella's rigid arm sticks out the cocoon, that to enter the DLC, all we must do is touch this rigid arm. So that's exactly where I'm going when the DLC drops. On June the 21st, which is the release date, because they also released the release date at the end of the trailer. Something I reckon's already been talked to death, but I'm going to mention it anyway. It looks as if this Shadow of the Erdtree is set inside of a parallel universe to the Lands Between. So many places from the Lands Between makes an appearance inside of this trailer. As the crescendo hits and we're running across these hills and these rolling plains, we come across this vast scene of this Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, if you look closely, that's the Golden Capital, only it's completely and utterly ruined, but you can still make out central structures from the Golden Capital. Now, it looks as if it's from a really, really high viewpoint in the Atlas Plateau. I tried to get a direct view of and point of where we actually are in the trailer, but it was impossible. It's almost like we're standing on air. That kind of viewpoint where we ride up on simply doesn't exist at the moment. And considering what we see and how much extra land there is, it makes me think that perhaps, just maybe, this parallel world is a collection of time and space warping in on each other, kind of like Lothric, all time converging at once. Now, from what you can actually see from this viewpoint, you can actually see the battle arena from where we fight Godfrey, which is coincidentally the entrance into the Erdtree, and some surrounding buildings, but it seems very ruined. The very fact that it's so ruined also helps to prove the theory that this is all time converging at once. This could be the Golden Capital millions of years in the future. I'm not sure exactly where this is, but a massive divine tower is shown with a great room plastered in the sky. Now, at first I thought this was the Carian study hall. That was until I looked down and I saw the trees. It could still be that, but I think it's very unlikely considering there's trees there. Or it could be and lands have converged and crashed into each other. It's hard to know, but it's definitely a divine tower. You can even tell even more by the fact that the bridge, which is identical to the bridges we see directly located on the divine bridges inside of the Lands Between. I know Tarnished Archaeologist made a video how the Divine towers were created by the giants located around the map. So if that is actually the case, this would add even more theory. Maybe they had something to do with this whole parallel world. Of course, that is just theory and not complete truth whatsoever. I'm just going off what slight knowledge I know of Tarnished Archaeologist's theory. I also really love the fact we see another great room, because it outwardly proves that there are so many more demigods out there. Because in Farum Azula we see a full, complete Elden Ring, one that is very unfamiliar to the one we see in-game on the logo everywhere. It's a completely different one that we've nicknamed the Primordial Elden Ring. And the fact that there's a new, great rune there suggests that we're going to have possibly even more great runes, more demigods available inside this DLC instead of just Miquella, which means so much for the lore, and I'm so excited. Next we see a character mysteriously lying on the floor, surrounded by purple flowers, wearing purple. Elden Ring's factions are very much colour coordinated, and Saint Trina's colour coordination seems to be very much white and purple. Now, what scene covers white and purple? Well, it'd be that scene I just talked about just now. And considering Saint Trina is theorised to be Miquella, this makes sense that maybe, just maybe, this character is somehow related to Saint Trina's cause. Hell, maybe this is a elusive priest of dreams. We only ever see one, and that's in a cut quest line, so to actually see a proper priest of dreams in a canon version of the game would be absolutely incredible. I can't wait. The next big thing we see is what looks to be a room inside of the Eternal Cities. Now, of course, this could just be similar architecture, but going off the fact that everything seems to be some kind of parallel version of the Lands Between, I would not be surprised if this is actually the Eternal City, or at least their Shadow Realm version of it. Then we are greeted by some amazing areas and some amazing bosses, with an NPC who I assume is going to be an absolutely amazing questline. Talk to us about how you would never assume that you're on the losing side of a war. Now, this makes me think, maybe, just maybe, if this is such a parallel world, maybe some kind of war like the Shattering also occurred inside of this Shadow Realm. What we see next looks to be one of the main story bosses. Now, straight away, this reminded me of Godfrey and Serosh. Now, whether this is some kind of parallel version of them, I don't know. But the whole beast upon the back is very, very Serosh-y and Godfrey-y. The moves they use, melee-wise, are very similar to Serosh and Godfrey. But when they started whipping out the lightning, I was a little less convinced. So I'm not really sure who this might be, but it's very clear that maybe they're going to have a really big significance in the actual lore. To me, the most interesting part of the trailer is what happens on the halfway mark, which is where we are right now. We see a completely new character that is, by the way, completely badass with snakes coming all off him. But he says, "Mother, would you truly lordship someone so bereft of light?" Now, what makes this even more interesting is there seems to be a broken statue of Marika in the back. I believe that this is a secret child of Marika. Not to mention, out of his palm comes destined bloody death, which we know was previously held by the Glowmide Queen, which is a bit confusing. Maybe this guy had it before the Glowmide Queen, or maybe this is like actually a girl, and maybe this is the Glowmide Queen. But then if this is actually the Glowmide Queen, that means Melena's not the Glowmide Queen, but it's pretty obvious, at least it seems, that Melina is the Glowmide Queen or related to her. There is so many things that poke hole in so many other things that it's honestly blown my mind a little bit, and it truly made me bloody gasp when I saw it, because it means so much for the future of Elden Ring's lore. We then see tons of new and interesting and exciting items, areas, things that I am so hyped for. But the purpose of this video was to show you things that you don't already know. The kind of stuff that you missed upon your first viewing. And that goes straight into it with a dialogue from a new NPC where he talks about how, are you you know, I'm just going to play it because I don't want to embarrass myself even more.
I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Mikola is doing here.
This gives me the impression that we are not the only ones from the Lands of Between that have come into this shadow realm. This means that we could see NPCs from all over the base game. Perhaps this is how people like Shabri get updated dialogue. Perhaps they simply are in this shadow realm too. I would not be surprised if we see Alexander in there, because it's in his whole questline to be this massive adventurer. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. The trailer then proceeds to tease me even more like the sadistic fuck it is by showing us a Shadow of the Erdtree version of the Tree Sentinel. And my god, is it bloody badass. We then see a senator kind of guy that's sort of back legs have shrunken on the back, and it's really freaky. He has this sort of weapon that really reminds me of just a stone version of the Orphan of Koz's placenta, which is already tall shoes to stand in, and I really hope it lives up to that, but I think the likely chance of it being on their level of Orphan of Koz is really low. But it does look bloody amazing, as does every single boss and enemy and area in this DLC trailer. As we meet the end of the trailer, we see two absolutely incredible things. First of all, we see this absolute monstrosity that has its ribcage hanging out, and the only bit of flesh you can really see are its hands and its head, and in the trailer it's in the process of basically ripping its head off. Over the top of this it says, "All those stripped of grace shall die by Mesmer's flame." Now we know that this Mesmer is the guy, the demigod we just talked about, because it plays him in his boss fight in all his glory, showing off. Now I know I said it was destined death, but there is also a chance that it's not destined death and it's some kind of other power. That was just part of my theory, but it is not 100%, and I myself am not 100% a believer of it. I think there's a 50-50 chance it's destined death or something else. In this last little bit we also do see even more of Mesmer's boss fight, which is so cool, and I am so fucking hyped. You thought I was done? No, we're not done. There is one more thing that it pops up at the end of the trailer, like some marvellous end credit scene. We see the Mikola. We see Mikola from the teaser image. Of course he had to pop up somewhere, and he pops up at the end. Shadow of the Erdtree glowing. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. That was a long video, but that is everything that you might have missed inside of Elden Ring's first DLC trailer. Now, if you don't know, the complete collector's edition is now on sale at BandaiNamco.com, and you can pre-order Shadow of the Erdtree right now. This was such a fun video to make. Honestly, I was freaking out. My brother woke me up early in the morning. I was sleeping, and he was like, "Gecko, Dylan, you need the Elden Ring DLC trailer," and I was just freaking out. Only I found out there was a timer for 6 hours, but it was such a good trailer, and it was exactly what Elden Ring needed to bring in so many new players and promote it further and put it to a bigger pedestal than it already is. There was 260,000 people watching on that reveal, so that really gives you the scale of what this DLC is going to be player-wise. And I, for one, cannot wait. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers, so if you could help us out with that, that would honestly mean the absolute world to me. I'm not going to hold you any longer, as I'm sure you have all more important things to do than listen to a guy ramble. So yeah, I really hope you have a great rest of your day, and may you find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye, everyone.